So, if you're new here, my name is Mitchell. In today's episode, I'll be talking about Women Like You More when it is her idea. And I do these YouTube lives every Saturdays at 12 p.m. Pacific time, 3 p.m. Eastern time. And if you guys do find this video content of value, you guys could hit the like button, leave a comment down below, and subscribe. And if you want to further help me out, everything is going to be in the description down below. So, let's get into a recap episode. So the recap episode that I'm going to be talking about today is women want attention on their own terms. Okay, so it's her choice. And the slide I will be talking about or emphasizing on today is too much and she will be repulsed by you. So and this was an episode that I did back in December 21st 2024, so last year, 6 months ago. Exactly 6 months ago. Anyways, so yeah, it starts out with like, have you ever tried to pursue a woman too much, ignoring the signs that she just was not that into you? You become more emotionally invested as the person, as the guy, becoming a little bit more emotionally invested. And then you start to ignore a lot of things. You start overlooking red flags and you start viewing her through rose-colored glasses. But then what you start to realize is like eventually that glass that you have on, that shade, it starts to lose its tint a little bit. And that is when you start to realize, you're like, damn, maybe that person isn't really that type of person that you projected to be. But in the beginning, what makes it difficult is that most guys in the beginning, they try to force things. They try to force it, especially before it becomes her idea. And I've always said that it's always better to let it be her idea for her to come to you instead. What's up, Bree? Good seeing you here. Yeah, so you a lot of guys trying to kiss her when the timing is not appropriate, and you try to escalate things physically when she does not want to be touched. And it's like, so there's some social cues that you should be able to pick up when a woman is into you or not. So, and this type of behavior is what causes most guys to over pursue and to call more, to text more, and to be too nice, which eventually it will land most guys into just being in a friend zone. So instead, you should take a step back and match and mirror her behavior. Is she willing? Is she accepting? What is her action conveying? What is, if you think about it, women, they vote with their feet. So this is how you pull yourself back into reality. And this is where most guys, you get too emotionally wrapped up. It becomes very difficult for you to move past that. But it's something, if you want to be more successful with women, this is something that you have to do. You have to be a little bit more emotionally grounded, more regulated. And you could choose to ignore reality, but you cannot ignore the consequences of ignoring reality. So you want to be able to give her the idea that, wow, like being with you would be so much fun and you're the best thing that has ever happened for them. So how do you become this person? Well, you got to build yourself up, right? And just by understanding some basics. And one of the basics, starting off with my first slide today, is being able to create distance. Creating distance. And I want to preface this before I continue with my slides. I want to talk about where all of this is not supposed to be some sort of game. This is not any type of manipulation type of tactic, but it should give you an idea on having a beautiful life, a busy life for yourself as a guy, to focus on his mission, his purpose. Like, there's only so many hours in a day for yourself. So what are you using that time to spend on yourself to build yourself up? Whether it's mentally, are you reading books? Are you educating yourself? Are you physically active? Are you taking care of your body? Things like that. And if you're taking care of yourself and you have a mission in life, things that you want to do, you're creating distance is not going to be a problem because you're so focused on becoming the person that you want to be. And so women's interest goes up when you create distance, let me expand this a little bit more. So, and like I said, this is for a man who is emotionally regulated and focused on his mission and purpose in life. And it sounds kind of counterintuitive, but woman needs time and she needs space away from you to think about you, to wonder about you, for her feelings to grow, and so that she could feel your strength, while you're not around, while you're just not hovering around all the time. Like, you should be focused on the things that you have to do as a guy. So, and this is I really like this example from my coach Corey Wayne. Shout out to you. So he says, like, just like what makes music beautiful, it's the space between the notes, because without the space, it would just be noise. So it's difficult for her to grow her feelings when you constantly being around her, blowing up her phone, calling her, texting her, being too nice. Like, that's not a real, like, most people do that because they don't know how to act for what they really want, So, yeah, it's difficult for her feelings to grow when you're just constantly bombarding her with all these text messages and calling and can I take you out? And it's like, let it be her idea. The man pursues in the beginning and takes a step back, right? So then, well, you might ask, well, what if we've been in a relationship together for a very long time and we now live together? So how do you do that? How do you build attraction when you live with each other? Well, you do so by setting dates once a week, and please don't change it up. Like, don't be like, well, every Wednesday, every Thursday, like, change it up, be a little spontaneous. It's gonna it spice things up a little bit, right? And so setting up dates once a week, or at least 3 times in a month. All right. And you want to make sure you're listening to her, because when a woman feels heard and understood, guess what opens, right? Her mind opens, and other things too as well. But she needs to feel heard and understood. So you have to continue to court her, but also you have to understand to take a step back and not be too needy, right? So the challenge is to continue to be more creative and find ways to have a little bit of that mystery. Like, oh, what are we doing today? Don't worry about it. You just need to wear this type of clothes because this is the place that we're kind of going, but I can't tell you exactly where we're going, right? Change it up a little bit, and just don't do the same thing over and over. Like, if you like hiking, that's good, but maybe sometimes she might not always want to hike. So you got to think into consideration of what she wants, not just what you want. And it's great if you two like the same things, makes things easier, but you got to cater when you take her out on dates. Think about it, it's for her, okay? And you too, I hope you don't hate what you're doing, but you go out, you go eat, you could go watch a movie, right? And this is assuming that she's your girlfriend. Now, like I said, the challenge is continue to be creative and find ways to be mysterious. So the problem where most guys get into is that they stop doing the things that caused her to fall in love in the beginning. They stop doing the things that made her fall in love. What's up? So now when the guy stops doing the things that she first fell in love with, it no longer becomes her idea of her wanting you anymore, right? For her to dress up for you, to look good for you, because she doesn't really feel safe around you, and I get some messages from guys who's like, well, my girlfriend just doesn't want to do certain things with me anymore, but she used to. So that tells me that's an attraction issue. It tells me that what you're doing is turning her off, because she used to do it and now she doesn't, right? So it's almost always an attraction issue, because like I said, it has to be her idea to want you. And she doesn't want to do those things with you is because she doesn't feel safe around you. And when I say safe, I'm not talking about physical danger. I'm talking about her feminine. She doesn't feel safe enough to open up to you in her feminine, because she can't trust your masculine core, probably because you're acting more like the chick in that relationship, and that usually turns her off. Most women will be repulsed by that. And so when a guy does more things to turn her off, he gets frustrated. She pushes her feminine more into her masculine. That's not exactly where she wants to be. And so when that does happen, she has to take on the role of being more masculine, and that is not her natural essence. So obviously she's not going to feel well being in that place because of what you're lacking. So that's why it's important for guys to understand, like, hey, you know what, you sometimes you have to take the lead in a relationship. You have to understand what builds attraction, and every now and then you should still audit how she's feeling and how she's doing. What is she doing, and is she saying like I love yous and things like that? Like, those are great audits to see whether her interest level. Okay, so you got to make her feel safe and comfortable around you. And I'm just talking about woman and her feminine, because woman needs to feel safe and she needs to feel comfortable to open up, right? So that she will feel open to having you mentally and to have you physically. And so for most guys, or for all guys, the sex part is always the man's fault. If you're successful at it, it's your fault. You're the one that caused it, so it's your fault. If it doesn't happen, it's also your fault. All right. So if you did what you did in the beginning of the relationship, there wouldn't be an end. And we hear a lot of breakups. We hear a lot of things that fall apart. It could be many reasons. But like I said, if you did what you did in the beginning of the relationship, there wouldn't be an end, or there shouldn't be. So the second slide I'm talking about today now is what happens when it is not her idea. What happens when it isn't her idea? So when it is not her idea, what ends up happening is most men create unnecessary problems. And so for guys who are not grounded emotionally, what tends to happen is that he tends to over pursue. Like I said, he calls more, he texts more, he's being overly nice, and it's not him, it's not genuine. And woman could spot that a mile away. It's like a drop of blood in sharks' water, right? They know it, they sense it a mile away. It's not really you. You probably want something else, and she probably know what it is, but she doesn't want to give it up, at least not to you. And so what ends up happening is that a lot of guys, they try too hard to force things to happen. And it's usually because of her inaction. It's her not wanting you, or not wanting to be around you when you ask to set up for a date. And she's like, I'm too busy. Or maybe you're in a relationship now and you guys been in a relationship for a while, and she's becoming a little less affectionate. She doesn't want to have sex with you, or she always finds an excuse. She tends to be a little bit more distant, things like that. A lot of guys in that situation, they try to force things. And from what my coach has been coaching everybody, he calls that the illusion of action. And the illusion of action is like, well, because she doesn't want to do anything, I need to do more in order to get her attention some more. So that's the illusion of action. And like I said, it sounds counterintuitive, but it's like, no, you want to match and mirror her actions. If she doesn't want your time, you don't give her your time, because the most valuable thing that you have is your time. So why would you want to give it to somebody that does not appreciate your time? And so, like I said, he tries to do more, illusion of action. And that is that, you match and mirror her actions, because it's very, very easy to slip into this idea of projecting your own feelings, how you feel about her, of how much you like her. And instead of seeing reality as it is, and the reality is, she probably just, have lost a little bit of interest. But if you understand that if she once had a lot of interest in you, now all of a sudden she's having less interest in you, you just have to understand that sometimes women are just like cats. They're like cats, when they got their fill up, she feels filled, She you know, she just needs a little bit of your time, and then she doesn't, and she will jump off your lap. It's kind of like that. It's kind of like that concept where the cat would just jump on your lap, sit there for a little bit, and when she doesn't want to be around you, she would jump out. And you can't force that cat to be on your lap. You probably get scratched. Well, that's the analogy, right? And so you want to make sure, like, to understand that women are like cats, and don't take it personal, right? But look at it as an opportunity. When she's away, look at it as an opportunity. Like, wow, like now I have more time for myself, more personal time to take care of the things that you always wanted to do, whatever it may be. Maybe you can hang out with your parents, your mom, your dad, right? Hang out with your boys, go to the gym, things, or work on your craft, whatever it may be. Don't take it personal, because your attitude at that point, because of her inaction, that's what's going to test men. And if you fail that, her test is only going to get more and more difficult. And so, it leaves men kind of trapped. It's like this little snowball effect. It just gets bigger and bigger, right? You just can't fall for that. And I said before, you can ignore reality, but you cannot ignore the consequences of ignoring reality. And the consequence is, the more you try to force things to happen, especially when it's not her idea, the less she is in your life. And what most guys don't really understand too as well is, like, yes, the guy picks the woman. He could pick a lot of women, okay? Look at dating apps. If you're a woman and you're watching this and you're attractive, just imagine how many matches you're gonna get as opposed to a guy. So, dating apps are in much more favor for women than it is for men, because there's way more men and not enough women. So the guy does the picking. He picks the woman, like, oh, I'll date her. But at the end of the day, it is the woman that does the choosing. Who does she want to be with? It is her choice. So your best bet is to be her most irresistible option. And how do you do that? By focusing on the things that makes you who you are, so that you could invite her into your world. That is the best thing that you could do as a guy. You invite her into your world. What's up, Tracy? You invite her into your world because your world is fucking absolutely amazing. And why wouldn't anybody want to be a part of that? And so you're getting and then you give her a little bit of a glimpse of what's it like to be around you. What's it like to be, what if if your word is ass, I don't think anybody wants to be around that, right, Mike? So unassified. Unassified. So like I said, the guy does the picking of the woman, but ultimately it's the woman that does the choosing. So become her most irresistible option, right? Be unasworthy. And for a lot of guys that complain, like, damn, I don't get any matches on dating apps. It's like, well, shit, then start going out there and start talking to women like how it was. If you understand that the number one most attractive characteristic for a woman in a guy is confidence, then approaching her and letting her know exactly how it is, and not trying to, beat around the bush and be like, oh, let me just be her friend and then I will confess my feelings onto her. Like, no, be straight up. What me and my friend always say, sometimes you just got to put your dick on the table. Like, don't show her. You know what I mean? Analogy, right? Just lay it out. Just lay it out. Look, I'm interested in you. I want to take you out. I find you interesting. You have a beautiful smile. Beauty needs a witness. Here I am. Well, I'd love to take you out on a date. And of course you want to make sure you talk to her first. You don't want to just jump the gun. Hey, I think you're gorgeous. Look, it might work, but I would highly suggest at least building some sort of rapport on cold approaches, and then you'd be like, yeah, I'd love to take you out on a date. Like once the next time you're free, What's your schedule like this week? Shit, matter of fact, what you doing right now? Because I need to get a cup of coffee. I need to get a cup of coffee. You should join me. Boom. All right, that's an example. Okay, that's just it just happened on the spot. But yeah, invite her into your world, and then that's something that I'm gonna be talking about in my next slide. So, be her most irresistible option, and as a man, you should always navigate. Okay, you should always navigate her interest by going just slightly slower than she does. Just slightly slower. You don't need to force things, because if you move slightly slower than she does, it becomes her idea. So then you get to see whether or not she reciprocates, to see if she's willing to put in the time and the energy into you. In other words, you're slowly allowing her to reveal her interest to you. When she reveals the interest, just look at it as a door opening up and be like, bam. And all you gotta do is just walk right in, right? I'm gonna say this though, be more selective than just beauty. Her interest needs to be similar to yours. Absolutely. Mike, you always want to make sure that you guys, assuming that you guys want to be in a long-term relationship, you want to have similar goals and similar values. Similar goals and similar values. Beauty will always fade, okay? But what makes a person want to stay is the inner beauty. What kind of character? What is she like? Does she have a father? Does she respect her father? And I'm not saying that women that doesn't have a father are bad prospects. What I'm saying is that from what I've seen too, as well as, that's why that terminology, daddy issues, it kind of exists. Unless she worked on herself. That's something different. Beauty is, who said this? I forgot who said this. But beauty, a beautiful woman to an average looking man is like kryptonite. And so he will always just be like, oh my gosh, she's pretty. Best thing that ever happened to me is being able to stand next to you. Already you're in her world, okay? It's no longer you inviting her into yours. So don't be a fan, okay? Don't be a fan. If you see it, go approach it. See what you could get out of it. If she's taken, hey, you know what? Let me know if you change your mind, okay? Now, for my third slide is focus on where she's at, not what you want. Because most guys get caught up in his own feelings and ignore where she is at. And this usually leads men to act needy, to act a little bit more desperate. And I don't know who didn't do this. I was there before, right? And the scary part is it's easy to slip into this idea of, damn, I want her to be mine, while ignoring the idea of where she's at. Especially when you felt like you've gotten so far, like, damn, I'm almost to the promised land. I'm so close. Third base, right? We touching this close, and then it just cuts off, right? And then you become too emotionally invested, emotionally wrapped up, and you lose sight of how she currently feels about you. But the good thing about that is you can judge her based off her actions, and not to slip into this idea of what you want, because it's very easy to be like, I like her because she's pretty. Usually, most guys, they fall in love with the eyes first, right? You'd be like, damn, she could have a lisp and you won't understand a thing she's saying. Rocco, I think so. Rocco, I remember the Rocco part. She could have a lisp and she don't even speak your language. You'd be like, shit, I love her. Most guys, keep up the good work, dude. Thank you. And women, it takes time for her to fall in love, and it takes time for her to fall out of love. So it's gonna take even longer time for her to fall back in love. What I'm just trying to tell you guys is just be patient. Be patient and understand that it's a work in progress. It's just like fitness. Going to the gym 2 weeks is not going to make a huge difference. You're going to get some results, but you're not going to see a dramatic change. Give it 2 months, maybe you start seeing a little bit more change, right? Give it 2 years, goddamn. Give it some time. You got to trust the process, but you got to have someone that you trust. And if you're here and you're watching this, chances are you want to have something better in your life too. So you're doing a lot better than what most people aren't, right? Most people will be watching Netflix. They're not really doing anything for themselves. You're actually building yourself up by being here. So you should give yourself a little clap. But yeah, focus on what where she's at and not what you want, right? You know, what was that part? Scary part. Yeah. So it's like, it's easy to fall into this whole, I want her, ignoring where she's at, especially when you felt like you got so close. But you know, you could always judge her by her actions, and you should always judge her by her actions, and bottom line, her actions. That would help dictate whether or not, you know, she likes you or not, and how she truly feels about you. Because a lot of people could lie. People could say a lot of things and not mean it, but their actions won't. An easy one is, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'll see you there on Saturday at 7 o'clock, and then someone doesn't show up. Actions, bottom line, their actions. When you focus on where she's at, you don't need to second guess. And you bottom line her actions, you don't have to second guess. For example, if you asked her, you know, maybe it's a girl you just met and then you just wanted to ask her out, and you know, in the beginning she was like, yeah, let's do it, and then all of a sudden the day of, she's like, oh, I'm sorry, I can't make it anymore. But she doesn't give you any counter offers like, I'm so sorry, something came up at work, I have to stay overtime, I can't make it today. But how about Monday or Tuesday night or whatever, right? At least give a counter offer. And that is how you could judge a person based off like, damn, I still really want to see you, I just can't do it today, and because of my busy schedule, this is the time I'm available. Like, you want to see those type of effort. And you know, and most people that you meet, you're probably not going to get along very well, and that's okay. That's fine. And that's, you know, that's why it sucks to say, but it is a numbers game. You're not just going to land on the first one that you see. And, you know, maybe if you get lucky, that's great. But, you know, that doesn't happen for everybody. And so anyways, you want to bottom line her actions and focus on where she's at. And that way you don't have to second guess yourself. Now, see, if you think about it in this perspective, where if you're a guy and you perceive yourself as a catch, why would you want to spend your time from a person that doesn't want to give you any of theirs? And the main idea of this whole slide, or this whole video, this live, is to match and mirror her actions. You want to match and mirror her actions. If she doesn't want to give you time, then you don't have to give her time. But in the beginning, you just have to understand that most guys, in the beginning, you're the one that does the pursuing. And then after a few dates, assuming it went well, then you kind of just pull back a little bit and allow her to come to you. Because that's where feminine energy, that's where it flourishes. Feminine energy is about bonding. It's about connecting. It's about opening up to receive love. If she doesn't feel that strength from you, she's not going to be attracted to you. So you already know where you're at. So a lot of times, guys, they'd be like, oh, you know, she just didn't like me. Well, think about some of the things that you could have done better. Or maybe she just was not that into you. And that's okay too. And that's okay. That's okay, because you don't have to get along with everybody. Appreciate you, Holly. Thank you. So with feminine energy, it's about her wanting you more. And, you know, be careful falling into this trap of woman saying that, oh, I want things to be 50-50, meaning I want you to contact me 50% of the time and I contact you 50%. It's like, no. That's not what you want. And the reason you don't want that is, how many times has a woman says, I want a guy to do about 50-50 and then lose interest? Or I rather much have a guy do all the pursuing and then she eventually loses interest. That's the problem, where I wouldn't say it's a lie, because at the time that's how she feels. But you have to understand how feelings work. Feelings change over time. Just like, oh my God, like your girlfriend right now, she could be like, I love you so much, you're the best boyfriend I've ever had, yada yada yada. and it's 11 what it's 12:33 p.m. on a Saturday right now, and then the next 10 minutes you do something that upsets her and she's like, I hate you, I don't want to be around you, right? Like, it could happen. So what I'm saying is feelings do change. And so you have to understand, when she says like, oh, I want things to be 50-50, at the time she's conveying in womanese, saying, I feel like you're not doing enough and I want you to do a little bit more. And so what guys don't understand is when they don't know any better and they do 50 and then they do 60 and 70, it just causes her to back away more and more and more. And like I said, I'm not telling you guys to do this as a game or, you know, to manipulate her into like contacting you more, but it is women like you more when it becomes her idea of coming to you. And all you have to do is show up as the masculine guy to show your strength. Like, hey, what's going on? If she comes to you with a problem, don't try to fix it. Hear her out. If she comes to you and she's happy to see you, she wants to feel your strength. Woman is designed to want to feel a guy's strength. That's all it is. She wants to see whether or not every time she comes back to you, are you still that same guy that's grounded, her rock, that's unbothered. So that is very, very important for guys to understand. So like I said, the main idea is to match and mirror her actions, and that's okay. If she doesn't want your time, don't give her much of your time. That's okay. And then, you know, you give it about a week. If that's your first time asking and she declines, and you wait about a week and then you ask again, because a week is a good enough time, right? It's a good enough time. It's not needy. You're just like, hey, you know what? I give it another shot. Maybe she really was busy and she forgot to ask me. Whatever. That's okay. And then you ask her again and she's like, nah, I'm still busy. You all you have to do is delete that number. Don't talk to her ever again. It's fine. Just let it be. And if she decides to ever come back, you let her know. And then you throw the ball in her court. Bop. And then she goes, you just let her know. You'd be like, hey, you know what? Whenever your schedule frees up, you let me know, and then we could schedule a date together. And at that point, you walk away and you never look back. It doesn't mean you give her 2 months and then you go back. You never do that. I appreciate you, Bliss. Thank you. I'm talking about relationships, but hey, you know what? Whatever makes your day feel a little bit better, man. I'm all for it. All right, so match and mirror her actions. If she wants you, she will give you her attention. If she doesn't, leave her alone. Don't be butthurt about it. Don't be upset. Don't be a butthurt Betty. All right, just be chill about it and have a good attitude. If she doesn't want you, it's okay. You know, don't take it personal. Don't take it personal. It's okay. You know. And that is what is going to give you that's what's going to give you the result. Think about it like this. Say you're at a club. Do people still go clubbing? Say you're at a club or rave or whatever. I don't know what people do anymore. And they go out and you talk to this girl. And she'd be like, oh, I'm not interested. You'd be like, you have a wonderful night. You have a wonderful night. I see you around. And that's it. You leave her alone. Maybe she just wasn't interested. Maybe maybe something just happened. You don't know what just happened. And then maybe she's on something. Maybe she was drunk. Whatever it may be. If she ever decides like, damn, maybe I was a little bit too mean to this person, that, you know what, he was kind of nice about it, I might want to give him another shot. So if I see him walking around again, hey, right? And that has happened. That is something that you might need an attorney for, and I'm not an attorney, so I wish I could help you out in that sense. I know exactly what I can do and what I cannot do, and that I cannot do. That's some legal actions right there. But anyways, let me give you the story. There was one time, I forget how many years ago it was. It was a while ago, and I was at the club. This is pre-COVID. Yeah, pre-COVID. So what, 2019? before, whatever. So anyways, I was there, I was chilling, and I saw this person. I was like, oh, this person is like, she's pretty attractive, and I want to get to know her. Well, a little bit before that too. Pre-COVID, I forget exactly which day. I just remember I was eating a bag of Cheetos. Anyways, eating a bag of Cheetos, and I was like, oh, she's attractive. But I was like, yeah, I'm not, whatever. It is what it is. And I was eating Cheetos. I was the only guy in there eating some Cheetos. And I was like, hey, you want some Cheetos? He's like, she looked at me like disgusted. And I was like, okay, I guess a man can't eat Cheetos, whatever. So I'm out. I'm still having fun. I'm still enjoying myself. You have fun, okay? And so what ended up happening was she saw me having fun. I was, in other words, pre-selected by my friend group, both male and females in that big group. We were all having fun, having a good time. And then she saw how much fun that I was having, with or without her. It does not matter. And then she realized, like, damn, Mitchell, she doesn't even know my name, right? Mitchell looks like he's having a lot of fun. So she ended up wanting to dance with me. But I was like, at this point, I was just like, yeah, I just want to have fun by myself. Turns out that as I was dancing, some guy pushed me. I thought, because she started backing up towards me. And I was like, all right, it is what it is. And then I got pushed. I thought it was her man. It turns out it was just this pervert that didn't want me to have the fun, and he wanted to have the fun. She turned around, saw that it wasn't me, and then saw that it was him, and she backed away. So everybody backed away, and I continued to have fun. That's what it was. All right. And I had a great time. And so the idea is to invite her into your world. Okay. And how do you do that? How do you become that person that invites her into your world as the guy? How do you do that? Good question, Mitchell. The number one most important thing is to be the leader. You want to be the leader that she wants you to be. Okay? Always continue to have fun, right? And if they don't want you, that's okay. Have a great, you know what? Enjoy the rest of your night. Oh, we have a great night. So be the leader that she wants you to be. How do you do that? You take the lead. You know, I've said this a million times, but a woman wants a man that leads the relationship, that leads the courtship. You always want to make sure she feels heard and understood, and you continue to date and court your lady. So whatever you did in the beginning of the relationship, you continue to do that in order to preserve and build on that relationship that you have. Right? That's a confident man. And the number one most attractive thing to a woman is confidence in a man. So be the leader. Not take control. Well, you know, don't control her, but take control of your own life. And then allow her to invite her into yours. You see, and when you say invite, it's allowing her. You're not forcing her. You're not controlling her. Women don't like to be forced. When a guy forces a woman before she's ready, like force her to be like, I really want to be with you. I really like you. I want to be your boyfriend. It's like, okay, if she doesn't feel any of that, what's going to happen is that she's going to back away. She's going to be repulsed by that. And so you want to invite her into your world. And by doing so, you take the lead. And men who don't know any better, they start playing in her world. And that never works out. It never works out. You'll always be the guy following along what she wants. And that is not what a leader does. A leader doesn't follow another person. All right. And so she wants a man to invite her into his world. This is usually where it gets most men, it gets them frustrated and they get irritated, and then they end up, they do this. They be like, hey, you know what? They throw their hands up in the air and they say, well, should I, like, they say this to themselves, like, oh, should I continue with this, or should I just cut the thread and just quit? Should I do that? And that's the type of mindset, and whether you believe it or not, or whether you know it or not, that type of mindset is going to cause her to back away and be repulsed by that, because of the type of impatience that you're communicating, that I don't know what I'm doing as a guy. I don't know what I'm doing. This is what you're communicating. I don't know what I'm doing as a guy. She's taking too long. I can't deal with this and I need the answer right now. So all you're communicating is just that you're impatient. So Christian, is it, yo, Crunch? Is this Crunch? Just gotta ask. Communication is key. Communication is key. So, you know, as a guy, you want to be able to communicate that patience. Why? Because patience communicates strength. Woman needs to feel your strength emotionally. It doesn't matter how you, how you look does matter, but the physical part is not as important. Now, you don't want to ever want to lose that. I feel like that's kind of like the fundamentals. You don't want to lose that physicality of being able to move and, you know, being able to survive just physically, being able to get up and down. I know men that is around my age that can't even tie their own shoes without like huffing and puffing. You know, there's 13 people in here now saying thanks for your support. Thank you, Bree. Thank you. And so anyways, yeah, you want to communicate that you have patience. And what you don't want to communicate is that, yeah, look, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, that's what a beta male would do. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to do that, right? So that kind of behavior conveys that you're weak and you're playing along with her instead of you inviting her into your world. And that is not what a leader. Oh, wait. Let me rephrase that because I was thinking too fast. But basically, if you're doing that, you're no longer inviting her into your world, right? You're not becoming the leader that she wants you to be. So in other words, she has the control, and a woman do not. I repeat, women do not want control in the relationship. She might say that she wanted, but nothing would turn her off more quickly. It would dry her up. And that's not what she wants. She might say she wants control, but as a man who understands women will know better than to believe that bullshit. So a woman wants to be in her feminine. That is where she feels most safe for most women, all right? A woman wants to be in her feminine. And it's our job as a guy to help facilitate that so that she could remain in her feminine, so that she could flourish in her feminine. And so when a guy starts acting in ways like he's impatient, he's acting needy. So girl, she acts needy, she acts impatient, he acts impatient, and he doesn't know any better. And then on top of that, because you're impatient, you get argumentative. Men who understands women don't argue with them, and then you start arguing with her. Things happen, like it adds up slowly over time. Imagine you just had a simple dish, right? You just got a simple dish, chicken and rice. You know, you got a little salt. All right, that's cool. You want to add a little pepper, that's great. And then you want to add some other sauce, all right, whatever you like. And then you add one too much. Think of that as a relationship, and like you're thinking like, hey, let me add a little bit more. Maybe this will work. Well, if that didn't work, let me add a little bit. Like whatever you just poured in, you can't take out. The more stoner I be, the more this be true. Yeah, I appreciate you. But no, let's think about it in that kind of concept. It's like where most guys, they fall into this illusion of action where if she does not want you, I feel like I need to do more in order to get her. And the reason why that happens is because of all this propaganda, right? It's a lot of propaganda. If you watch a lot of these Hollywood type of videos, I didn't say Hollywood video. I'm not that. Anyways, if you're watching a lot of movies now, right? Like these rom-coms, whatever it may be, it displays men to be very, very weak, where he's trying to chase and pursue her, and it is very unattractive. Like you do that in real life, you get a restraining order. But it's, you know, with all the music in the back and all those traffic, and you're stuck in traffic and she's already at the airport, shit like that, it feels great. It's like, damn, that's what I should be doing, right? And trust me, I did that and it never worked out. Okay, And it gets so easily to get wrapped up in your own emotions, and you stop paying attention to her interests. That's what causes most guys to fail. And it's like a lot of these could be prevented if you just take a step back and start reflecting. But most guys don't have this blueprint. They don't have this blueprint. And that's why you're here. You get to pick my brain, you get to ask questions, and you get to learn. And that's the beauty of all this. All right. So that being said, that is my slides for today. That's my video for today. But I do want to go over some summaries, all right, of the 4 slides that I talked about. So the first one is creating distance. Woman interest goes up when you create distance. It sounds counterintuitive, but woman needs time and distance away from you to think about you, to wonder about you, to miss you, to feel your strength. And just like music, just like what makes music beautiful, it is the spaces in between the notes, because without the space, it would just be noise. Number 2, what happens when it is not her idea? When it isn't her idea, you create unnecessary problems. A lot of men try too hard to force things to happen, and it usually because of her inaction that causes him to do it, right? And so he might call more, text more, pursue more. So what you really want to do is just match and mirror her actions. And you don't want to create an unnecessary problem. All you have to do is step back. A lot of women can feel your strength by your inaction. So if her inaction caused you to do all this bullshit, but you're unbothered by it, you're like, shit, I got some other people I need to see throughout the week. You're not going to be tripping about that one chick that did not answer your text. You got other things to do, whether you have other dates set up, or you know what, you got to go to the gym for another hour because you missed your cardio session, whatever it may be. So you don't want to create unnecessary problems. Focus on where she's at and not what you want. When you focus on where she is at, you don't need to second guess yourself. Basically, what you want to do is bottom line her actions. That will dictate how she truly feels about you. And number 4 is be the leader she wants you to be. Woman wants a man that leads the relationship and leads the courtship. A woman wants to be in her feminine. So how do a masculine man help facilitate that, right? You got to keep thinking about that. How do I help facilitate her being in her feminine? Because there's going to be a lot of challenges, especially in a relationship. And relationship goes through phases. And if you don't know that phase, it's going to be really easy to mess up, right? Especially when you get frustrated. And so, what's up, Sajish? What's up? So yeah, that is where a woman feels the most safe, is when she is in her feminine. So us guys, we have to learn to help facilitate that, to make her feel heard, to make her feel understood. And just like my other live earlier, there was this, I forgot her name, but anyway, she came up. Basically, she said she broke up with her boyfriend, and all I did was help facilitate. Like, what do you do? How do you feel? How do you feel about that choice that you made, and things like that? And she solved her own problem. Imagine how many arguments could have been prevented if a guy could just ask questions instead of trying to fix her problem. Just ask questions. What else? What happened? So what made you feel about that choice that you made? How do you feel about that? The key word is feel. Feel. How do you feel? All right. And so, wait. And okay, so what was it? Women feel in the feminine, and that's where she feels safe. And when she feels safe around you, she will love you, and she's going to want your attention all the time. Woman that's in love with you will want your attention all the time. That's what it is. It's not rocket science, but then again, men and women speaks different languages, and it's our job. It's our job to understand what she's saying. Like, here's a little quick one. Let's just say you went out on a date, on a vacation, 3-4 days, right? 3-4 days on a vacation. What usually tends to happen is after that vacation, whether it's a week or whatever, when you come back, she she may become a little bit more distant, and the reason why is because, well, she just spent a weekend with you, or a week with you, or 2 weeks, whatever it is. She spent a lot of time with you. Scarcity is what creates value. And when you're there all the time, that's not a lot of scarcity. There's a lot of time being spent together, right? And so when you do come back to reality, the whole weekend. So when you come back, don't be surprised if she wants to be left alone, or she's a little bit more distant, and then, as my coach says, women tend to speak in hyperbole, over exaggeration. So even after you come back from that vacation, she might even say something along the lines of, "Oh, Mitchell, you never take me out." Hyperbole, right? Over exaggerated. You never take me out. And it's easy for us guys to be like, what the fuck do you mean? I just took you out on a nice ass vacation to Disneyland, or whatever it may be, right? To Thailand, whatever. And you saying I never do this? Like, it's easy for us guys. My name is Mitchell. And it's easy for us guys to just be like, I spent thousands on this chick and she's not being appreciative, right? And it's like, well, you just got to take a step back and not let what she feels affect you, be making you feel like you're the devil himself. Yeah, exactly. But it's so easy to slip into that and not see it as how it is. And what she's just saying in womanese is just saying, I know we spend a lot of time together past weekend or the past week, but I just want a little bit more of your time right now. That's all it is. So when a woman says you never do this, you always do that, over exaggeration, don't take it too serious. It's all good. And she will feel better. Same thing for my girl, all right? I hope you're listening. I hope you're listening, because I'm looking at you right now. Anyways, yesterday she wasn't feeling too well, right? And that's all good, things happen. And when things happen, I don't force it. I'm talking to her. I'm like, hey, you know what? This is what happened, blah, blah, blah. She was, a little bit more on the quiet side. And I was like, is something wrong? Yeah, I don't want to talk about it. I was like, you don't want to talk about it? Well, I think if you talk about it, you will feel a little bit better. No, I don't want to talk about it. That's fine. Do you want me to leave you alone for a bit? Yeah, okay. I'll leave you alone. I'll be upstairs and I'll be downstairs. You know where I'll be, all right? And I just left at that. I wasn't bitter about it. I wasn't butthurt, but I was just like, it's all good. Her emotions, just like the weather, it will go through, right? It will change. This cloudy, stormy weather, whatever is happening in her mind, it's gonna go through. It's all good. I stayed emotionally grounded. But now what ended up happening was, when I saw her, I gotta go up there. I gotta do my business, take a piss. And I went up and I saw her and I just gave her a kiss, continued doing my thing. Came back. After 5-10 minutes, she was all good. And she laughs about it. She's like, that's just the way I am. I'm like, yeah, you're a pain in the ass sometimes, but luckily I know what I'm doing. So it's just because it doesn't make it any easier. You just have to understand that's the language that they speak. And so when they do that, it's our job as a guy to not be tossed away from our center. It is I always use this as an example. Like, as a guy, this is your center, and you try not to deviate from that center. If you feel yourself frustrated, pull yourself back. Take a step back. What is causing me to be upset? Behind anger is always fear. So if I'm angry, I'm fearful of something. So I'll put the blame back to myself. And easily, it could have happened to any guy, and it would have happened like 90% of the time. It would have just happened like, oh, you upset? You upset again? You being a bitch, right? Why you being a bitch? We're about to have fun, and now you're fucking shit up. It would have easily been another problem, right? So women need to feel strength. that being said, I hope you guys did enjoy the show. Hit a like button, subscribe if you haven't already. And I catch you guys on the next live. All right. And if you guys have any topics, by the way, just leave it in down below. Comment down below. I'll look into it. And if I find it interesting, I'll talk about it. All right. Peace.